The year was 2460. Earth was no longer free. Humans had lost their place in the galaxy. The Concord of Species, a council of alien powers, had claimed ownership of the planet. They said it was legal. Every species had signed the documents. Every species had endorsed human slavery. Humans were now labeled as labor class. They mined, fought wars, and worked dangerous jobs across the stars. The aliens claimed humans were too violent to be free and needed supervision. The truth was, humans were weak after centuries of wars and environmental collapse, and the aliens had seen an easy way to control the planet. In the middle of the chaos, 4 humans lived very different lives, but shared the same hidden anger. Ethan had been a soldier. Now, he worked as a security officer on one of the Concord's orbital ships. He patrolled corridors, checking humans and aliens alike. His uniform was clean, his face calm, but inside he felt the weight of every chain on his people. Maria worked in orbital shipyards. She repaired starships for the Concorde. Her hands moved fast, her mind sharper than anyone realized. Secretly, she added small upgrades to the machines humans were forced to maintain. Leah was a data analyst. She spent hours decoding alien communications and databases. She worked quietly, but her mind was always searching for weakness in the Concorde. Daniel was a historian. He studied old wars, revolutions, and uprisings, hoping humans had lessons left for the present. He was quiet, observant, always thinking. Life under the Concorde was harsh. Cities were divided. The elite aliens had their shining towers and clean streets. Humans lived in labor blocks, small apartments with high walls. Military zones were everywhere, and alien guards walked freely. Humans wore identity implants that tracked every movement. The council broadcast propaganda constantly. Screens in every district repeated the same message. Humans were dangerous, humans were weak, humans must obey. No one could speak against the council. Fear was in every corner. One morning, Ethan walked past a children's playground in a labor block. A small alien guard had grabbed a child and struck him for playing too loudly. Ethan froze. His shock collar buzzed against his neck, warning him not to interfere. The child cried. The mother begged. Ethan wanted to act. His fists tightened, but he could not move. Ethan, lever, enter. The fear of punishment was too strong. He walked away, carrying the weight of helplessness in his chest. Maria worked nearby, in the orbital repair decks. She watched humans struggle with old machines and heavy parts. Every day, she added hidden improvements that no alien would notice. A small gear would last longer, a power booster would work faster. She wanted humans to have any advantage they could quietly take. She knew the aliens were careful, but she hoped these small acts could help one day. Leah had been staring at her screen for hours. Hidden deep in alien files, she found something strange. Some records had been erased, others seemed coded to hide information. She began decrypting them slowly, following patterns that only a careful mind could see. There were notes, warnings, and hints that humans were not fully understood by the aliens. Leah's heart beat faster with every line she uncovered. If humans could find what the aliens feared most, maybe they could fight back. Daniel sat in the public archive, reading old stories. The aliens had removed most records of human achievements in war. Only fragments remained. Factor, last of interests. He read about soldiers who had fought bravely, victories that had stunned other species, and small human revolts that had almost destroyed settlements. He understood one thing clearly. Humans were dangerous when they were pushed too far. The aliens knew this, and that fear had shaped centuries of control. That day, A protest began in one of the labor blocks. A small group of humans gathered quietly at first. They carried signs with simple messages. Food for our children. We are not machines. Freedom is not a word, it is life. At first, the aliens ignored them. Then a loudspeaker ordered them to disperse. When no one obeyed, the response was violent. Guards with shock batons struck anyone moving too quickly. Drones sprayed stingers that made humans fall in pain. The protest ended in mass execution. The aliens broadcast the punishment across the city as a warning. Everyone watched. The screen showed bodies, burning, falling, screaming. No one could look away. Ethan, Maria, Leah, and Daniel each watched the execution from different places. Their hearts burned, but each in their own way. Ethan clenched his fists so hard, he left marks on his palms. Maria's hands shook over a repair tool, but she did not drop it. Leah stared at the codes on her screen, tracing back the patterns that predicted human response. Daniel whispered to himself, repeating the fragments of old speeches he had memorized. That night, Leah worked alone in a hidden corner of the data center. She found a term in the alien files that made her pause. Human wrath scenario. It was classified. The words themselves carried fear. Formation. That's a stored. In the 5. Person. 17 tells in 7. Humans, she realized, had something in them the aliens had always feared. The files described small experiments from centuries ago. Humans, even when weak, could destroy far more than expected when pushed to rage. The aliens had tried to study it, then locked the knowledge away. They controlled humans instead of studying them, using chains, collars, and fear. Maria found Leah later that night. She brought food and whispered, "I saw what you found. We need to talk." They sat in the quiet shadows, the hum of the orbital systems around them. Ethan joined after slipping away from the security station. Daniel arrived last. Daniel, carrying old records hidden under his coat. The 4 of them sat together in silence, feeling the weight of centuries. Ethan finally spoke. "We have done nothing for too long. They killed children, destroyed families, and called it law. We cannot be afraid anymore." Maria nodded. "We cannot fight them openly yet, but we can start small. We can help humans in little ways." Leah tapped her screen. "I have found patterns, weaknesses. If we work together, we can exploit them," Daniel added. "And the history shows us the path. Humans have risen before, even when all seemed lost. We must learn from that." Rating then, they made a plan. It would be small at first, a test of courage and strength. A single district would be the beginning. Leah would disable tracking systems for a short period. Maria would sabotage security drones. Ethan would train a small group in simple tactics. Daniel would spread a quiet message of hope. Humans were not slaves. Humans were not weak. Humans could rise. Days passed. Small signs appeared. Tools went missing and returned fixed. Humans whispered encouragement to one another. The aliens noticed little at first. The 4 of them watched from shadows. Hearts heavy, but hopeful. One morning, alarms rang in the district chosen for the first test. Humans ran in fear, and yet something inside them shifted. They fought with whatever they could find. Wooden beams, old tools, even their own courage, became weapons. Drones fell from the sky. Guards were pushed back. Ethan felt a strange surge inside him. It was not just fear, not just anger, it was energy, raw and bright. Maria smiled quietly, knowing her work had helped. Leah's eyes sparkled at the data, showing spikes in human reaction. Daniel watched history repeat itself in living form. Far above Earth, Alien observers whispered on their screens. One of them said in a low voice that carried fear, "They are awakening." The word hung in the air like smoke. No one knew what would come next. No one except the humans in the district who felt, for the first time in a long time, that they were alive. And so, the chains around Earth began to rattle. Small, careful, but impossible to ignore. Deep in their hearts, Ethan, Maria, Leah, and Daniel knew the journey had begun. Humans would fight, humans would rise, and one day, humans would not kneel again. After the first small uprising, the district was quiet again. But inside the hearts of humans, a new fire had begun. Ethan, Maria, Leah, and Daniel met in their hidden corner beneath the orbital repair decks. Their faces were pale from long hours, but their eyes burned with purpose. Leah began, pointing at her data screen. "I found more. The Concord has always feared us. They call it human wrath. Centuries ago, small human units destroyed entire alien operations, sometimes without even proper weapons. They studied it, but every experiment ended in disaster for the aliens. They stopped trying after a few decades. The files say humans were unpredictable, dangerous, unstoppable. Once their rage was triggered." Ethan clenched his fists. "So, they knew we were strong, even weak, and instead of respecting us, they chained us, made us labor, and tried to hide the truth." Daniel nodded. "History repeats itself. They feared the same thing generations ago that we can still show today. The files describe uprisings that terrified even the most powerful alien commanders. We have to use that knowledge. But carefully. If humans get too angry too soon, many will die." Maria leaned closer. "We cannot wait for them to make a mistake. We have tools, technology, and access that they do not expect. Small strikes, carefully placed, could give humans confidence, and when humans fight with courage, the rest will follow. The Concord will not know what hit them." The four of them started planning. Their first goal was simple: strike one work district again, but this time, with more coordination. Leah would disable the tracking devices in the district for a few hours. Maria would sabotage security drones, making them malfunction. Ethan would train a small team of workers in basic combat techniques, using whatever tools they had. Daniel would spread a quiet message of resistance, hidden inside maintenance logs, repair instructions, and encoded files. In the next few days, Ethan trained a small group of humans in a hidden hangar. One of them, a young man named Luke, said, "I've never held a weapon. What if I fail?" Ethan put a hand on his shoulder. "Failure is part of the fight. Fear is part of it too. But courage grows when you act anyway. Today, you are not just workers. Today, you are humans. Fighting for humans." Maria worked on the drones. She carefully rewired the circuits so they would spin in circles, drop their cargo, or shut down completely at critical moments. The drones looked normal to any alien observer, but their effectiveness was gone. Small victories could save lives, and she wanted every strike to count. Leah monitored the Concord networks. She discovered patterns in security patrols, schedules, and communications. She built a secret map of the district, showing safe paths, weak spots, and escape routes. She also began sending coded messages to other districts, testing if the idea of rebellion could spread quietly. Whispers began to move across Earth, subtle, hidden, but growing. Daniel moved among humans quietly, speaking in hushed tones. He told old stories of revolts that had succeeded, teaching them strategy and hope. "Even the smallest spark," he said, "can start a fire that burns across the stars. You are not alone. Humans have always risen before, and we will rise again." His words traveled secretly, hidden in data logs and word of mouth. Humans began to feel hope for the first time in decades. Finally, the day of the coordinated strike arrived. Alarms sounded in the district, but Leah's systems had blocked the tracking signals. Drones malfunctioned as Maria had planned. Ethan's trained group moved quietly but swiftly, blocking patrols and guiding civilians to safe zones. The humans acted with focus. They were not just angry, they were organized, working together as a single force. The aliens were surprised. They had expected chaos, not coordination. Patrols ran into dead ends, drones spun uselessly, and shock collars suddenly malfunctioned in some areas. For the first time in decades, humans felt a strange lightness in their movements. Fear was still there, but it was mixed with determination. Ethan led a small strike team to the central plaza of the district. They faced alien guards who had no idea humans could move so fast or act so carefully. Tools, pipes, and makeshift shields became weapons. One guard fell after a few strikes, and the humans cheered quietly. No one was killed unnecessarily, but everyone understood the seriousness of their actions. Far above, alien monitors blinked frantically. Analysts whispered to each other. They are learning. They are coordinated. The fear in their voices was almost audible. The Concord had never faced humans acting together in such an organized way. Centuries of planning, slavery, and control had taught them to underestimate the humans' adaptability. Back in the district, the humans began freeing small groups of prisoners from work blocks. Leah guided them via encrypted messages, showing which doors were weak and which patrols could be avoided. The freed humans joined the uprising. Soon, hundreds of workers were quietly united in a single, careful operation. The sense of power was intoxicating. Humans who had never imagined themselves as fighters felt capable and alive. Maria watched from the shipyard above. Her hands shook slightly as she monitored the drones she had tampered with. "They're doing it," she whispered. "They're really doing it." The smallest victories had grown into a storm, and she could feel the energy from the network she had built, pulsing across the district. Daniel moved among the civilians, keeping them calm, teaching them to follow orders, move efficiently, and support the fighters. He reminded them, "Every step you take is a statement. Every action is proof that humans will not kneel quietly. Even a single life saved is a victory against chains." The strike lasted for hours. No large casualties occurred, but humans had proven themselves capable of organized resistance. They returned to their hiding places with a mix of exhaustion and pride. Ethan, Maria, Leah, and Daniel met again beneath the shipyards, hearts heavy with worry, but full of hope. Leah studied the data. "Look at this," she said. "Heart rates, adrenaline, brain activity. Humans are reacting in a way the Concord cannot predict. The files were correct. The wrath is real. When humans unite in anger and courage, it spreads like wildfire. The Concord never allowed it before because they feared it." Ethan nodded. "We can't stop now. The Concord will respond. They will try to crush us harder than ever. But we know our strength. We know our people are not weak." Daniel added, "History has a pattern. Early failures teach lessons. Small victories inspire millions. We need to grow this movement carefully, but we must grow it fast. Time is on our side if we act wisely." Maria worked late into the night, sending coded messages across other districts. Humans who had never fought began forming small cells, learning from the strike. The whisper of rebellion was now a quiet roar in hidden corners of the planet. The Concord did respond, but in ways the humans had anticipated. Stronger patrols, new shock collars, and harsher punishments were enforced. Yet, the new energy inside humans only grew. Fear had been part of their lives for centuries, but now anger, courage, and hope mixed with that fear, forming a dangerous combination the Concord had never faced before. One evening, Ethan, Maria, Leah, and Daniel watched the sun set over the city from a high rooftop. The sky was orange, glowing, and peaceful, yet they all felt the tension in the air. Ethan said, "We've started something. We cannot stop. Every human who remembers this day will carry it forward. Every species that thought they could control us will now fear us." Leah looked at her screen, analyzing the signals from the uprising. This is just the beginning. The Concord thinks they are powerful, but they have not faced united humans before. The wrath is spreading, quietly, in every district we touched. Daniel smiled slightly. And that wrath is not blind. It is guided by hope, courage, and wisdom. Humans will rise, not just for themselves, but for every life they can save. Maria put her hand on Leah's shoulder. We have work to do. More districts, more people, more strikes. One spark is enough to start a fire. We need that fire to grow. Ethan turned toward the city. Then we move. Carefully, quietly, but with purpose. The Concord thinks they have the law, the power, and the numbers. We have the human spirit, and they cannot measure it. As night fell over Earth, small lights flickered across hidden paths, secret rooms, and maintenance tunnels. Humans whispered words of courage to one another, sharing hope in hushed tones. They were not free yet, but the first true step had been taken. The storm had begun, and the Concord, for all their power, would soon discover that humans were not weak. Deep in the shadows, Ethan, Maria, Leah, and Daniel stood together, knowing that the human wrath, long feared and suppressed, was awakening. One day, it would not be hidden. One day, it would rise fully, unstoppable, and furious. And when that day came, no species could ignore it. The first spark of human rebellion had become a quiet blaze, and nothing would ever be the same again. After the first coordinated strike in the district, Earth was never the same. Small whispers of rebellion had grown into a quiet roar. Humans in hidden cells worked together, communicating secretly through encoded messages and repaired devices. Each victory, no matter how small, inspired more people to join. Fear still lingered, but hope and courage had begun to take root. Ethan led his strike team to another district. This time, it was larger, with more workers and more alien guards. The patrols were stricter, and drones scanned constantly. Yet, humans moved carefully, following paths Leah had mapped out. Ethan taught them simple strategies. Move silently, use cover, protect each other, strike quickly, and retreat if needed. He reminded them, "We are not just fighting. We are teaching the Concord that humans will not bow quietly." Maria worked above in the shipyards. She carefully manipulated drone circuits again. Some drones would jam alarms, some would fall harmlessly from the sky, others would loop in circles, distracting the alien guards. Each malfunction saved lives, and the humans on the ground moved like shadows through the streets. She smiled quietly. Knowing her work made a real difference. Leah monitored communications, watching the alien networks for patterns. She found every weak point and predicted movements before the aliens even acted. "They are slow to react," she told the group. "We know their moves before they make them. We can strike fast and quietly. Trust the plan. Trust each other." Daniel moved among the humans in the district, encouraging them. He shared stories of human history, small revolts that had led to freedom, and battles where courage had outweighed numbers. "Fear is natural," he told them. "But courage is what changes history. Today, You are not just workers. You are humans who fight for humans. The humans struck again. This time, they moved faster and smarter. Patrols were avoided, security drones were neutralized, and alien guards were stunned by how organized the humans were. Small groups of workers were freed from labor blocks, and they joined the uprising immediately. Morale grew. Humans who had felt powerless for decades now realized their strength. Above the planet, alien commanders monitored the situation. Humans are learning, one said nervously. They are coordinating, adapting, and striking with precision. Another replied, we underestimated them for centuries. This is unexpected. They are dangerous. Fear spread among the aliens. Centuries of planning and control could not predict humans acting together with courage and intelligence. Ethan's team reached the central hub of the district, where a small alien garrison was stationed. They used pipes, tools, and makeshift shields as weapons. The humans fought with precision, avoiding unnecessary casualties but striking with determination. The aliens, trained to expect disorganized chaos, were caught off guard. Humans moved like a single unit, protecting each other and striking decisively. Daniel guided the civilians quietly, teaching them to follow instructions and stay calm. Every step, every move, every small victory builds our power. Remember, courage spreads faster than fear when humans act together. Leah tracked the human vitals during the fight. Heart rates, adrenaline, and focus levels showed an extraordinary pattern. The wrath is spreading, she told the group. Humans are reacting in a way the Concord never expected. Once we strike together, the effect grows. It's unstoppable if we keep it coordinated. Maria continued to manipulate the drones. One group, intended to patrol the main street, suddenly spun out of control, dropping their surveillance cameras. Humans used the moment to move quickly and free prisoners. Cheers echoed quietly through hidden alleyways. The strike was successful, and humans had learned from the previous operation. Ethan addressed his team afterward. Today, we did more than fight. We proved humans can work together. The Concord thinks they have control, but we have something they cannot measure. Our will, our courage, our unity. We will grow stronger with each strike. News of the uprising spread quietly across Earth. Encoded messages moved through hidden networks. Other districts began small, careful rebellions. Humans were learning from each other, sharing tactics, and building confidence. The movement was no longer a single spark. It was a growing fire. The Concord noticed the pattern. Their analysts warned that small uprisings were forming across multiple cities. Humans are spreading unrest, one alien said. We must respond before it grows too large, another commander argued. More patrols, stricter collars, harsher punishments. We cannot let them gain confidence. Yet, even with these measures, humans continued to adapt, finding new ways to avoid detection and strike effectively. Ethan, Maria, Leah, and Daniel met again in their hidden base. Ethan said, "They are reacting, but they are too slow. Every day, we grow stronger. Every human who sees our victories gains courage. This is how revolutions spread." Leah added, "The wrath is no longer hidden. Humans feel it, understand it, and act with it. The Concord cannot predict it. It is not just anger. It is focus, strategy, and unity combined." Daniel spoke quietly. History has shown that small victories lead to bigger ones. Humans are starting to remember who they are. Every strike, every rescued worker, every freed district, becomes a lesson for others. We are building something they cannot stop. Maria looked at the city below. Lights flickered in hidden tunnels, secret rooms, and maintenance areas. Humans whispered messages of courage to each other. Even children and the elderly carried hope in small ways, helping in hidden tasks, delivering messages, and supporting the fighters. The storm was growing. Ethan led another mission to a nearby factory district. This time, they faced heavier alien presence. Yet, humans moved quickly, striking and retreating as Leah's data had predicted. Each move was calculated. Patrols were avoided. Drones were neutralized. Humans freed workers from labor blocks and led them to hidden safe zones. The aliens were confused and frustrated. Centuries of control seemed to crumble in the face of human coordination and courage. The strike ended successfully, and humans celebrated quietly. No one shouted. They did not need to. The energy of victory was in their hearts. They had learned to fight. And more importantly, they had learned to believe in themselves. Far above Earth, alien commanders held emergency meetings. They are learning, one said. Our systems cannot stop them. Our patrols are too slow. Our collars are too weak. Humans are adapting faster than we can respond. Fear spread quickly. The Concord had faced humans before, but never like this. Never as a united, strategic force. Back in the hidden base, Ethan spoke to the group. We cannot stop. The Concord will try harder. They will send stronger patrols and more ships. But humans are ready. Each district we touch teaches another. Each person we inspire strengthens the storm. We will not fail. Leah nodded. We have data now. We know their weaknesses. We know how humans react together. The wrath is growing, and we can control it carefully. Every strike makes us stronger. Every act of courage spreads the message further. Daniel added. And the message is simple. Humans will not be slaves. Humans will not bow. Humans will rise. One small victory today becomes hundreds tomorrow. Every strike teaches others. Every rescue gives hope. Maria watched the city below and smiled quietly. They think chains and collars can hold humans. They think punishment can break our spirit. But they are wrong. Humans have learned to fight. And humans have learned to hope. Fear no longer rules them. It is courage now. As night fell over Earth, hidden lights flickered across secret paths. Whispers of courage traveled through alleys, tunnels, and hidden rooms. Humans carried messages, delivered supplies, and helped each other. The storm had begun in one district and now spread across the planet. Ethan, Maria, Leah, and Daniel stood together, watching the stars above. Alien ships hovered far away, unaware of the power growing below. Humans had started something that could not be ignored. The fire of courage, the spark of wrath, and the strength of unity had begun to shape a new future. One day, the Concord would face the full force of human wrath. And when that day came, no species would underestimate the humans again. The storm had begun, unstoppable, and growing stronger with each passing hour. Earth was no longer silent. Humans had begun to roar.